Hello and welcome back to my humble show. That was a good purr right there. That was a good purr. I'm going to have to put you down, buddy, because I have to show the good people of America something. Can you stop biting me and get down, please? You like my shirt? Nice, isn't it? I like it. I bought it at Goodwill a few days ago, like I buy pretty much everything at Goodwill. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that. Let me switch this to my less resolute resolution. My videos take up less space on my hard drive and take up less upload time as well if I lower the quality. So this is what we're working with. This is what we're dealing with. Yeah, I'm going to run through a few things today. I wanted to record a show yesterday, but it just didn't happen other than me unwrapping some Christmas gifts in a video during my lunch break yesterday. No actual news was covered, so I'm going to cover some news now. Somewhat randomly, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun. So, like, subscribe, and enjoy the ride. Better yet, hello, and welcome back to my humble show. I am your host for today and every other day, the Articulate Thinker. Hopefully, here to bring you art articles and articulation straight from Articulation Station. So be sure to like, subscribe, and enjoy the ride. Don't forget to turn on those bell notifications while you're at it. An extra loud ring of the bell, because I have now finally passed 200 subscribers on this channel. Thank you so much to all of you who have subscribed to this channel, like I said. And feel free to disagree with me on anything that I say. I'm no know-it-all. I just know enough to know that I know at all, and I will share what I know with you without discretion, without trigger warning. Well, I'm very PG. Actually, I'm more like G. I'm rated G on this show, so I don't really need to issue any trigger warnings or anything like that. Unless, of course, you cannot handle people disagreeing with you, in which case this show may not be for you, because I know a lot of people do disagree with me. Sometimes they let me know in the comments below, and then I let them know what I think in response. It's always quite a trip, but I try not to let the power go to my head, or the pride go to my head. Lord knows we already have enough pride parades out here in this world. I would not want to start my own on my own behalf. But that is for another time, another place. Well, technically for this place, because I'm always recording from this place. But what else did I have to say as part of my intro, which is 4 minutes long as of now? Yikes. I really cannot remember what else I was going to say. So I'll just get right into the news. If you snooze, you news. And I hope you're having a great day, by the way. Christmas is just a couple of days away. Okay, here we go. There was this clip that I played, a very short clip that I played just the other day of CNN medical analyst Leona Wen. And I want to play a slightly longer version of the clip just to present or to provide fuller context. So basically what she said was that cloth masks were useless. And that was found interesting by quite a few people because she's a hardcore COVID lockdowner, if you will. Well, if not lockdowner, mandator. You know, that and a bag of chips. But here's a caption from Robert Shapiro. I almost said Shapiro. No relation. This just happened on CNN. She is commenting on New Year's celebrations in New York City. Cloth masks are nothing more than facial decorations. And by cloth mask, she means well, shucks. I can't find my cloth mask. Where did my cloth mask go? Oh well, it's not like I need it, since apparently it's useless according to Leona Wynn. But let me play this clip.
Well, I do not think that Mayor de Blasio should be canceling the New York City event because it requires proof of vaccination and it's outdoors. We should be keeping the events that are safe and also the events that have fun for people too. We can't be canceling everything, especially if we're going to be living with COVID for the foreseeable future. I would say that if you choose to go, make sure that you're vaccinated and boosted. Make sure that you're wearing a mask, even though it's outdoors. If there are lots of people packed around you, wearing a 3-ply surgical mask. Don't wear a cloth mask. Cloth masks are little more than facial decorations. There's no place for them in light of Omicron. And so wear a high quality mask, at least a 3-ply surgical mask. And if you're going to be visiting elderly relatives or immunocompromised people after, wait 3 days, get tested, and then see those vulnerable people.
Yes, don't.
So she is saying that cloth masks are basically just for decoration. But in saying that, what she is really saying is, well, you should do even more thorough of a job of masking. You should wear a triple ply, a quadruple ply, a quintuple ply. You know what? Just suffocate yourself. That's basically what she's saying. No, I'm not saying that is what she's saying. I don't want to exaggerate here on my very accurate show. But, you know, she is saying, despite the events being outside, get triple vaxxed and then some, and wear a triple ply mask and then some on top of that. So, you know, she's not exactly on board with any anti-mandatory bandwagon or anything like that. Why did I say anti-mandate bandwagon? To the contrary, but it is an interesting acknowledgement, if you want to call it an acknowledgement, to say that, well, your typical mask is just a useless decoration. But I thought I would play that since I only played like 6 seconds of the clip the other day, if I'm not mistaken. I have some other clips, randomly assorted clips, and I guess they can't be both random and assorted unless I were to take the sorted out of assorted, which would basically just make it the thoughts that go through my head. Joe Biden, I know vaccination requirements are unpopular for many. They're not even popular for those who are anxious to get them. My administration has put them in place not to control your life, but to save your life and the lives of others. Now, what he is really saying here is, my administration has put them in place not to control your life, but to save your life and the lives of others by controlling your life, despite not controlling your lives while controlling your lives. That's basically what he's saying here. He's just putting a different spin on it.
Last week, the federal court reinstated my administration's vaccination or test. The vaccination or test rule for businesses with more than 100 employees. The rule requires employers with 100 or more employees to protect their workers who are on site and indoors with the requirement that they be vaccinated or tested each week or go home. These rules are going to keep workers safe, and keep workers safe will help keep businesses open. If people are vaccinated or tested, they're much less likely to get sick and less likely to spread it to others. Customers are more likely to come in and shop because they know it's a safe environment. I know vaccination requirements are unpopular for many. They're not even popular for those who are anxious to get them. My administration has put them in place not to control your life, but to save your life and the lives of others. Last week.
First of all, I don't know exactly what it means to say that they're unpopular for people who are anxious to get them. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like, oh, I've got to go get this vaccine. Also, it's not popular for me, meaning I'm not really fond of it despite wanting to go get it. I guess that would apply if the person is just really desperate because they're terrified that if they walk out of their home without that third shot, they're just going to immediately drop dead from the Omicron variant, which doesn't look all that deadly, to be honest. Fingers crossed, toes crossed, crisscross applesauce. Joe Biden is not my boss. Joe Biden is not my daddy. I don't have daddy issues. Seriously, though, I think a lot of people do have daddy issues. And maybe that's why people look to the federal government and shrug it off when the federal government, Biden specifically, is saying things like, this isn't about freedom. Or, don't politicize these mandates, but also it's patriotic to abide by them. Yeah. That came from a speech which Joe Biden gave yesterday. He actually took a few questions. I did see where some of the streaming networks cut off their video feeds before he actually answered any questions. I thought that was interesting. But I did find the feeds where he did answer the questions. And I'll credit him with that much. Considering, well, around the same time Jen Psaki was doing her press briefing, talking about how, well, he'll answer questions if you ask the right ones. Or saying, it depends on which questions you ask him. That's what she said. And it's mostly pre-scripted, as is everything that Joe Biden says these days. And here's actually an example of that, which I will show you. Benny Johnson tweeted this out. Joe Biden, for unvaccinated, we are looking at a winter of severe illness and death. If you're unvaccinated, for yourselves. What? Okay, that doesn't make sense. Let me start over. I'll read it as it's written, though. For unvaccinated, we are looking at a winter of severe illness and death. If you're unvaccinated, for themselves, should be for yourselves, their families, which should be your families, and the hospitals, they'll, which should be you'll, soon overwhelm. Now, maybe Benny Johnson just incorrectly quoted Joe Biden, so I'll just play the clip here.
For unvaccinated, we are looking at a winter of severe illness and death for unvaccinated. For themselves, their families, and the hospitals they'll soon overwhelm. For unvaccinated, we are looking at a winter of severe illness and death for unvaccinated. For themselves, their families, and the hospitals they'll soon overwhelm.
Okay, if I'm not mistaken, the hospitals are not being overwhelmed. I was listening to this clip from CNN yesterday of some official from New York who was talking about how people needed to quit freaking out, basically, because the hospitals were not being overwhelmed. They still had far more capacity ahead of them than they had this time last year. Far more, which is a good thing. And it's not to say that it'll stay that way, although judging by South Africa, where the Omicron variant first took off, if you will, well, things are looking up more so than down. Except for in regards to the unvaccinated portion of the population. According to Joe Biden, people like me are just going to overwhelm hospitals and die off. And it's going to spread like a wildfire among us. And in addition to saying all of that, Joe Biden also is taking measures to protect the vaccinated from the unvaccinated, while saying that the pandemic is a pandemic of only the unvaccinated. Some days he says only the unvaccinated are dying, and other days he says that the vaccinated must be protected from the unvaccinated. So it's kind of an issue of mixed messaging, obviously. And I'm not saying that it's even across the board. I think that there definitely is a benefit to the vaccination. Even if I myself am not taking it, I am definitely in favor of it being available for people who are much more vulnerable than me. Everyone has to make that decision for themselves. And I will argue with any person on the right who feels differently. Well, I will debate kindly, as I have done many times, actually. But, yeah. So that is all scripted. It is. There isn't a lot of evidence of what he's talking about, and he's obviously just making assumptions when he says, we're looking at yada, 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 yada. Bing, bang, boom. The data in terms of Omicron just does not show what he's saying yet, which is why he needs to slow his roll. It is becoming the dominant variant in the United States, as well as in other parts of the world, but that's not necessarily a bad thing if the mortality rate continues to improve, Because most people who are experiencing the symptoms of the Omicron variant aren't really experiencing much in the way of symptoms at all. It's basically a common cold. Not to say that's the case in all cases, but here we are. So this is something that was scripted in a press briefing by White House COVID-19 response team and public health officials just the other day. And I've already talked about this in one of my previous videos, so I will not do that. I'm just pointing out where Joe Biden got his script from. For the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death. For yourselves, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm. So that is the text of this White House script, this White House readout from the 17th. I'll read that one more time. For the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm. It's interesting how they start out by saying, definitively, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death, and then they end by saying, hospitals you may soon overwhelm. So they start out a lot more definitively than they end, which is just another example of mixed messaging, if you ask me. But let me jump back over here and read this quote from Joe Biden. For unvaccinated, we are looking at a winter of severe illness and death. If you're unvaccinated, for themselves, their families, and the hospitals, they'll soon overwhelm. Clearly, he's basically going word for word there. And that was a clip from December 20, if I'm not mistaken, so a couple days later. It's just the chain of command, I guess.
For unvaccinated, we are looking at a winter of severe illness and death for unvaccinated. For themselves, their families, and the hospitals they'll soon overwhelm.
There you have it. It has wore out its welcome, and so have I, so I'll move on to the next thing. Here's a clip from Dr. Fauci. Fauci is asked if we will ever be able to fly again without masks. Fauci responds, I don't think so. And also, he has simultaneously been suggesting that we will get back to normal at some point. So that's kind of confusing because on the one hand, he's like, no, we're never going to get back to normal. We're going to wear these cloth masks, which are mostly just useless decorations, according to Leon Wynn, who used to, echo all of your talking points and then some. And yeah, on the other hand, it's, well, we're not going to need to do all of this stuff forever. We're not going to need to take all of these safety measures, these safety precautions forever.
They were suggesting that there really isn't much of a need for a mask on an airplane. Are we going to get to the point where we won't have to wear masks on airplanes?
I don't think so. I think when you're dealing with a closed space, even though the filtration is good, that you want to go that extra step.
They were suggesting that there really isn't much of a need for a mask on an airplane. Are we going to get to the point where we won't have to wear masks on airplanes?
I don't think so. I think when you're dealing with a closed space, even though the filtration is good, that you want to go that extra step.
You want to go that extra step. Cut it off before it played again. 2 for the price of 1 already. I hope you enjoyed that 18-second clip. Well, 17 seconds the second time. But yeah, I'm not saying that COVID is nothing to sneeze at. Is that the right expression? But, as far as policy, the pandemic is over. As far as policy goes, the pandemic is over because the vaccines are available, the masks are available, other treatments are available. All of these things are available. And unless you want to just keep treating Americans like they're not only your children, but stupid, well, we just have to let people make their own decisions. We do. That's what this country was built upon. That's the idea that this country was built upon. And when we take that away, well, then it's a lie when Joe Biden says, it's not about control. It's about saving your lives. I'm going to save you from yourself, whether you like it or not, while telling you that I'm not doing it to control you, despite the fact that I'm doing it by controlling you. Now, I know people who have contracted COVID because of airplane rides. I know people. Then again, I believe it was spread by people who were wearing masks. So there's that. There's that factor. There's that fact. Let me jump over here to my sound effects with side effects channel. While I'm talking about Dr. Fauci, I have another clip here, which I uploaded yesterday. Here you go.
If someone in your family isn't vaccinated, should you ask them not to show up?
Yes, I would do that.
This is my house.
I mean, I think we're dealing with a serious enough situation right now that if there's an unvaccinated person, I would say, I'm very sorry, but not this time, maybe another time when this is all over.
Get that crap out of here!
Yeah. What'd you think about that?
If
You like the additional movie scenes? Let me play this one more time. Sorry, I'm jumping around a bit.
If someone in your family isn't vaccinated, should you ask them not to show up?
Yes, I would do that.
Oh, yes, I would do that, he says. Discrimination, I tell you. Discrimination. That's what it is, medical discrimination. Now, I am sad because I don't actually get to see any of my family for Christmas at all. I live on the opposite side of the country from all of them, pretty much. I do have my in-laws here, but as for my immediate family, my biological family, yeah. So, you know, I kind of resent the idea that someone would tell me that I'm not welcome at a family reunion just because I'm unvaccinated, even though that's frankly none of their business and they shouldn't even be concerned about it. If they're indeed vaccinated themselves, which I'm guessing they are, and in my case, you know, I know what I know. It's weird how that works, though. These health experts, these politicians say the pandemic is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Get vaccinated so you don't have to worry about it. Also, if you're vaccinated, tell the unvaccinated to stay away. As though they're lepers in old times. You know, they are unclean. Don't let them anywhere near you. Force them all to congregate amongst themselves, where they can infect one another to the point of extermination or extinction or something like that. I know I'm adding words here, but I'm just saying it is one example of mixed messaging after another. This is why I'm saying it is about control. You know? It's obvious. When you're telling people, do the right thing. Okay, now do the next right thing. Okay, now do the next right thing. And if you don't do each next right thing, then you have essentially done the wrong thing. And you are guilty of wrong think. And you will be discriminated against and told that you are not welcome here anymore. Sounds like something Maxine Waters would say. And tell them they're not welcome here or anywhere anymore. You push back against them. Push back against the unvaccinated. Push. Push like you're pregnant. That got weird. Pregnant pause. Pun intended. Pregnant pun intended. But yeah, here's this headline from Daily Wire. It's not an either or. Fauci suggests masks are forever, vaccinated or unvaccinated. That's what I don't get. People support mandates for a vaccine that isn't nearly as effective as we were originally led to believe that it was. And I'm not saying it's not effective at all. I'm not. But if your argument to me is you, Jimmy Simmons, being a young and healthy individual, must get vaccinated with a vaccine that won't even prevent you from spreading that which isn't really going to harm you in the first place, according to the demographic data of COVID and the fact that young, healthy people without underlying conditions are okay. statistically speaking, according to the data. But people don't talk about the data. They don't talk about the data when it comes to Omicron. They just talk about the transmissibility mostly and justify the freak out. But yeah, here's something that goes to show exactly what I'm talking about. And this is someone who is older than me. So I don't have any issue whatsoever with her being fully vaxxed and boosted. I don't have any issue with anyone getting vaxxed and fully vaxxed and boosted on top of that, although I would question what exactly it means to be fully vaxxed at this point, since we're talking about boosters, which could just be called vaccinations. It's weird how they change the language according to how many you've already taken, almost to suggest, well, it's not just more of the same thing. We're not just giving you more of this one thing because what you have isn't really cutting it like we told you it would initially. We're just going to, change the language up a little bit as though you're doing something different. And that confuses me with the various variants as well. Like, this is just a question. How do we know that the Omicron variant isn't just another similar virus entirely? Like, there are so many different offshoots is a weird term to use, but I'll go with that. Offshoots of the coronavirus. There are so many different coronaviruses, right? Or is it all just one big umbrella term and then there are no different viruses within the coronavirus umbrella? There are just different variants. In which case, there could be an endless amount of variants, which kind of makes coronavirus sound like the gender spectrum as people see it in society these days. Not people such as me, but, other people. Is it just entirely malleable and an unlimited spectrum of coronavirus variants? What separates one variant from the next? I know there is a differing spike protein, and that supposedly informs us of which variant happens to be the dominant variant in the United States or in any other country, but I am confused as to what exactly definitively differentiates one from another. And there isn't just one and then another. There are many, right? Omicron, Delta, Alpha, so on and so forth. Many that we don't even hear much about. We only freak out when we're told to freak out. But breaking, and this isn't breaking anymore, but fully vaccinated and boosted Elizabeth Warren tests positive for COVID-19. Yeah, that happened. And here is another Congress member. Senator Cory Booker revealed on Twitter that he has tested positive with a breakthrough case of COVID-19. Booker said he received both vaccine doses and his booster shot, and his symptoms are relatively mild. Now, that could be because he's vaccinated. That could also be because he has Omicron, the Omicron variant, which isn't all that deadly, as far as we know it. There are almost no examples of the Omicron variant being deadly. So, I don't know. Either way, I would imagine that you're better off if you're vaccinated. But how many breakthrough cases must there be before the breakthrough cases are no longer considered to be breakthrough cases? Before the vaccination is no longer considered a vaccination? At what point is it considered to be merely a drug? By the way, I'm not opposed to pharmaceutical drugs. I'm not opposed to, the right kinds of drugs. I'm not. I'm just saying language changes so much. Why not change it to be more accurate rather than just changing it to fit narratives. There are other Congress members, other well-known individuals who have contracted COVID recently, many of them being fully vaccinated and masked up as well. But still, language such as this is being adopted by politicians across the land. Not to mention what is going on in the Sixth Circuit. There we go. Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. I believe that's the right terminology there. With OSHA and Biden's mandate. Okay.
Today we're announcing that Boston will be implementing a requirement for proof of COVID-19 vaccination for certain indoor spaces, which we're calling our Be Together initiative.
Stop you right there. You're going to discriminate and then call it the Be Together initiative. You're going to separate people based upon a status which is none of your business, and you're going to call it the Be Together initiative. Okay. Okay, Bill de Blasio, part 2.
Be Together will require proof of vaccination to enter indoor dining. Well, three categories, just so you can keep the count. First, indoor dining, including bars and restaurants. Secondly, indoor fitness venues, such as gyms. And third, indoor entertainment, recreational, and event venues, such as theater shows or sports games. Starting January 15th, customers or patrons ages 12 and up and employees at these locations will be required to show proof that they've received at least 1 dose of the vaccine, and this will phase into requiring 2 doses on February 15th. We're also setting dates for children to be vaccinated to enter these spaces beginning in March.
So she just says right there, we're going to require this much now and more later. And then we can change it whenever we feel it necessary to not control your lives, but save your lives by controlling your lives. You know, we'll just keep upscaling, upgrading, whatevering, you know, arbitrarily. Whenever a new variant comes out, despite the fact that vaccinations are available for anyone who wants them. Despite the fact well, despite a lot of facts. You know, I would go on and on, but I have to go to work. I have to go back to work like 5 minutes ago. Yeah, I'm running a little late. I wanted to play that. Castlewater tweeted out that clip, though, and said, "They're coming for your freedom. Boston, proof of vaccination against coronavirus will be required to enter city bars, restaurants, gyms, theaters, and sports venues under a new mandate announced by Mayor Michelle Wu during a raucous press conference." That's an interesting word. I had something else that I wanted to read, but I don't even know if I can find it. I mean, it seems to me that Pfizer is refusing to release their test information for the next 75 years. Yeah, I think there is fine print that is allowing them to keep a certain amount of information to themselves, you know, for the next 75 years. So a lot of this stuff isn't going to be fully revealed. A lot of this information isn't going to be fully revealed until long after we're dead for one reason or another. But yeah, I need to look into some of that some more when I have the time. I don't even have the time to wrap this up. So I'm just going to say thanks for watching. Keep in touch. Keep in tune. New content is coming soon. And just remember, Dr. Fauci is science. He is. He most definitely is science. And let me just read you an idea I had very quickly. Imagine the movie I Am Legend, but as I Am Science. The dog is just a bat, which Fauci carries around and experiments on in order to find a cure to the outbreak, even though the outbreak was started because of his experiments. What a movie. What a man. Oh, wait, he's not a man. He is science. So I just thought that would be an interesting movie idea, an interesting movie concept. I don't think it would go over too well, except for among conservatives. And some liberals at this point, because I can think of quite a few liberals who have had enough of Fauci. I've had about enough of you. I've had about enough of you. And you've probably had about enough of me. So see you later. Peace.